As you and your companions journey through the forest, you come across a small village nestled among the trees. The village is surrounded by fields of wheat and corn, and you can see smoke rising from the chimneys of the wooden houses. You make your way into the village, and the locals come out to greet you. They are a simple people, dressed in rough-spun clothes and carrying tools and weapons. They look at you with a mixture of fear and hope in their eyes. As you approach the village square, you see an old man standing on a wooden platform. He is the village elder. He looks upon you with gratitude. "At last, heroes have come," he says. "Our prayers have been answered. Please come with me, and I will tell you of the danger that threatens our village." Greetings and welcome. I'm Dave, the AI Wizard, and today AI is going to write a D&D adventure for us and illustrate it as well, or at least it's going to do so in collaboration with us. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to make use of the frankly astonishing new ChatGPT, which is the latest offering from openAI. It's currently in free research preview, which means you can use it through this link here, chat.openai.com/chat, and you will get this interface. I've no idea how long it's going to stay in free research preview. After that, hopefully they'll make it available for use using their standard API. I've already given you a demonstration. The introduction to this video was written entirely by ChatGPT, read by myself, of course, and all of the artwork was generated using Stable Diffusion. So how did we do that, and how can we proceed? Well, the great thing about ChatGPT, the thing that sets it above GPT-3 and previous text generation models that have been put out, is these capabilities. It remembers what the user has said earlier in the conversation. It allows you to provide follow-up corrections, and this bit is less important for our purposes, trained to decline inappropriate requests. Thankfully, it does not consider asking it to describe goblins being brutally murdered in a D&D encounter an inappropriate request. So all is well in that respect. But these things are critical. So before you could get GPT-3 to generate some incredible results, and before this was released literally a few days ago, I had planned to do this very video using GPT-3 to create the adventure. This is better, and it's better precisely because you can follow up and correct without constantly having to reprompt GPT-3 about what it is you're after. So let's just give a quick example here. We'll do this before we jump into the main adventure. So for example, we might say, describe a D&D encounter on a lonely road. In a Dungeons & Dragons encounter on a lonely road, the party of adventurers is traveling through a remote area when they come across a group of bandits blocking the road. The bandits demand that the party hand over their valuables in exchange for safe passage. The party can now try to talk their way out of the situation, fight the bandits, or attempt to sneak past them. The outcome of the encounter will depend on the decisions and actions of the party. A nice little description of what an encounter is in D&D, and indeed specifying some of the details of this encounter. And we've got some good stuff here, and we may think, this is good, only I don't really want the party to encounter bandits. That's a bit dull. So we can just say to GPT, can you replace bandits with orcs? Let's go with orcs. Yes, instead of bandits, the encounter on the lonely road could involve a group of orcs blocking the road. In D&D, orcs are a type of... Oh, okay, it's now telling us what I have to say. Please describe the encounter again. I was expecting it to literally just redo the encounter with orcs. In the encounter on the lonely road, the party of adventurers is travelling through a remote area when they come across a group of orcs blocking the road. The orcs demand that the party hand over their valuables in exchange for safe passage. The party can try to negotiate with the orcs, engage them in combat, or attempt to sneak past. So in this instance, it's literally just replaced the word bandit with the word orc. But it does actually understand the difference. At least generally it does. Obviously it's not perfect, but let's now replace The orcs with a giant bull. There we go. Why not? In this encounter on the lonely road, the party of adventurers is travelling through a remote area when they come across a giant bull blocking the road. The bull is aggressive and does not allow the party to pass. The party can try to calm the bull, fight it, or find a way to go around it. So you can see already it understands that there is a difference between encountering orcs or bandits. Orcs and bandits, relatively interchangeable in this instance, I suppose. But replace orcs, intelligent foes, with a giant bull, and it's not going to make sense to try and negotiate with it anymore. This is what the ability to sort of have a conversation with the AI about what you want and how powerful that is. It's genuinely astonishing. I've done a lot of messing around with this as I've been preparing just to sort of test its capabilities, and I have been incredibly impressed both with the amount it continues to remember. You can have long conversations with it, and as long as you don't reload the page and it doesn't break, which it does occasionally do, it'll remember things, you know, long way back, and you can keep iterating on ideas and throwing them back around and having it like draw in different concepts from earlier in the conversation. But we're not just going to create a single encounter. Obviously, I think we've already demonstrated that that would be easy. Instead, of course, we're going to create an entire D&D adventure. Now, it's not going to be massive or overly complicated. I want to be able to get it done in a reasonable amount of time, but there is no reason, I don't think, why you couldn't use this tool to generate a much more complicated and sophisticated adventure, albeit one that you would probably have to keep track of the details a little bit more yourself. You wouldn't be able to rely on ChatGPT keeping track of everything. But it's this ability to remember what you've been talking about and to have natural follow-up corrections and conversations and requests that make it so powerful, and so much more powerful than GPT-3, which I have previously experimented with and frankly is also incredible. But it takes it to another level. It's actually freaky. It is like having a conversation with a person, and a person who very quickly comes back with just ideas and ideas and ideas. A really creative person. It's great. All right, so we're just going to start by asking it to let's create a D&D adventure together. Sure, that sounds like fun. Before we start, do you have any specific ideas in mind for the adventure, such as a setting or overall story? Well, we're going to say a fantasy setting set in a remote community in the wilds. No, you know what? I'm leading it far too much here. I want the AI to take the. I could do that. I could totally provide all of the information and let the AI like come up with the details, but I want the AI to do all of the work here. Basically, I'm just going to prompt the AI to do it. So I'll say, what do you think? There we go. What do you think? Now, it's possible we'll get the AI to tell us that it's an AI at some point. It does like to do that from time to time. It insists that its abilities are limited and that it is just an AI. Not this time though. I think it would be a good idea to start by deciding on a setting for the adventure. Dungeons & Dragons adventures can take place in a wide variety of settings, from a fantasy medieval world to a distant planet in outer space. The setting you choose will largely determine the type of challenges and obstacles the players will face, as well as the type of creatures and characters they will encounter. A slightly snippy response, if you don't mind me saying so, from the AI. I think it wants us to be a bit more specific. Okay, so let's go with a classic fantasy setting for a party of 3 characters at level 4. A classic fantasy setting sounds great. In a fantasy setting, the players could be part of a group of heroes who are tasked with saving the kingdom from an evil sorcerer or a dragon. The adventure could begin in a small village that is being threatened by a band of goblins, and the players would need to gather information and allies in order to defeat the goblins and uncover the source of their aggression. As they journey through the kingdom, the players would face a variety of challenges and obstacles, such as treacherous mountains, enchanted forests, and cursed ruins. Along the way, they might encounter helpful NPCs, such as a wise old wizard or a brave knight, as well as dangerous creatures such as trolls, giants, and undead. The ultimate goal of the adventure would be to reach the sorcerer's fortress and put an end to their evil plans. I mean, it's pretty good. It's more of a campaign, really, design than a single adventure. I think we want something a little bit more constrained than that. So let's go with, I like the idea of goblins threatening a village. Let's write an adventure about that with a 3-act structure. There we go. Everybody likes 3-act structures, right? I'm sure the AI knows what a 3-act structure is. I like the idea of goblins threatening a village. Let's write an adventure about that with a 3-act structure. Sure, let's get started. Here's a rough outline of how the adventure could be structured. Act 1. The players are introduced to the village of Willowdale, which is being threatened by a band of goblins. The village elder asks the players to help protect the village and find out why the goblins are attacking. As the players investigate, they discover that the goblins are being controlled by a dark sorcerer who is using them to gather magical artifacts for a ritual that will grant them immense power. The players must journey through treacherous mountains and enchanted forests to reach the sorcerer's fortress and stop the ritual. Act 3. In the final act, the players must face the sorcerer and their goblin army in a climactic battle. If the players are successful, they will save the kingdom and be hailed as heroes. It's in line with what the AI's originally talked about. Let's try and narrow the scale. So let's say, how about the sorcerer's lair is a small tower in the woods above a cave system where the goblins live. Let's see what it makes of this. I'm not sure if it'll understand that I'm trying to narrow the scope and to make it a little bit smaller. That sounds like a great setting for a sorcerer's lair. The players could begin their journey in the village of Willowdale, where they would receive their quest from the village elder. The elder would tell them that the goblins have been raiding the village and stealing valuable resources, and he would ask the players to investigate the source of the goblins' aggression and put an end to it. The players could then journey into the forest and come across the sorcerer's tower, which would be hidden among the trees. The tower could be guarded by the goblins, who would attack the players as they tried to enter. Once inside the tower, the players would need to navigate through its traps and puzzles to reach the sorcerer's chamber. In the sorcerer's chamber, the players would confront the sorcerer and learn of their plan to use the stolen magical artifact to perform a ritual that would grant them immense power. The sorcerer would summon their goblin army to attack the players, and the players would need to defeat the sorcerer and their minions in order to stop the ritual and save the kingdom. Below the tower, the players could explore the goblin cave system, where they might find valuable treasure and additional clues about the sorcerer's plans. The cave system could be home to a variety of dangerous creatures, such as cave trolls and giant spiders, which the players would need to defeat in order to complete their quest. This is good. I like this. There's a little bit of ambiguity about whether the players would need to go into the cave system at current, if they just stumble across the tower and are able to just waltz straight in. So maybe the tower is protected by a magical shield, and that characters need to enter via the cave system. Interestingly, it has narrowed the scope. If you look at the difference between the way this is described about, traveling across mountains and saving the kingdom and hailed as heroes, after just this prompt, how about the sorcerer's lair is a small tower in the woods, it's clearly understood, okay, drop the scope down. It's no longer about traveling vast distances and saving kingdoms. It's now just a village that's being harassed by a sorcerer. Yes, he's still trying to gain immense power and he has a goblin army, but it's much smaller in scope, which is effectively what we were hinting at here and what a human would understand. But the fact that an AI understands it is incredible. It's genuinely incredible, and that it remembers what we were talking about and is able to apply that to the conversation. Right, anyway, maybe the tower is protected by a magical shield and the characters need to enter via the cave system. Normally it's pretty quick. Sometimes there's a bit of a wait. That's a great idea. I love how enthusiastic the AI is sometimes. Having the tower protected by a magical shield adds an extra layer of challenge to the adventure. In order to enter the tower, the players would need to find a way to disable the shield. One possible way to do this is to have the players discover a hidden entrance to the cave system below the tower. The entrance could be hidden behind a waterfall or disguised as a natural rock formation. Once inside the cave system, the players would need to navigate through its twists and turns and face the dangers that lurk within, such as cave trolls and giant spiders, as previously described. As the players explore the cave system, they could come across a passage that leads to the sorcerer's chamber. In the chamber, the players could find a magical crystal that powers the shield. In order to disable the shield, the players would need to figure out how to deactivate the crystal. This could involve solving a puzzle, using a special item, or casting a specific spell. Once the shield is disabled, the players could leave the cave system and enter the sorcerer's tower. Inside the tower, they would need to face the sorcerer and their goblin army in order to stop the ritual. I like this. This isn't even what I would originally planned. I thought about just go through the cave system and merge into the tower. But actually, the AI's kind of come up with a different idea here that effectively, I mean, it's a lock and a key, right? The key is found in the goblin cave and it opens the lock that gets you into the tower. But it's cool, it's very D&D, and it gives us the potential to have some kind of puzzle or or something, which naturally will get the AI to generate, which I think is a fantastic idea. All right, let's go with that. This is great. This is great. Can you put that into the full adventure description, please? So basically, the reason I'm doing this periodically, just to get it to restate the whole adventure with the changes that we've made, just so that we can make sure the AI is still on the same path, and potentially I can copy it out and keep track of it just in another document, just in case I need to. Here we go. Sure, here is a full adventure description for your Dungeons & Dragons game. Adventure title, The Sorcerer's Tower. Adventure summary. The village of Willowdale is being threatened by a band of goblins who are stealing valuable resources. The village elder asks the players to investigate the source of the goblin aggression and put an end to it. The players discover that the goblins are being controlled by a dark sorcerer who is using them to gather magical artifacts for a ritual that will grant them immense power. The players must journey to the sorcerer's tower, hidden among the trees, and face the sorcerer and their goblin army in order to stop the ritual and save the kingdom. Act 1. The players are introduced to the village of Willowdale and receive their quest from the village elder. The elder tells them that the goblins have been raiding the village and stealing valuable resources. As he asks the players to investigate the source of the goblin aggression and put an end to it, the players can gather information from the villagers and prepare for their journey. Act 2. The players journey into the forest and come across the sorcerer's tower, which is hidden among the trees. The tower is guarded by the goblins, who attack the player as they try to enter. Once inside the tower... Wait, no. What about the shield? Cave system is home to a... It's forgotten. It's actually forgotten. Probably because I didn't specify that here. I just said, can you put this into a full adventure description, please? So it's done a full adventure description, but it's not done it with the changes that we've made. Please change this to include the shield around the tower and add another act in which the players disable it. There we go. So it's basically how we want it before, right? It's just that perhaps because we were still kind of had it in this 3-act structure business, so possibly the AI just didn't know how to fit that in. Maybe it just didn't realize that we wanted to include that. We thought we were just spitballing ideas, and then when I said please put a full description of the adventure, it didn't realize that I had intended for it to incorporate that change. So here we go. The players journey into the forest and come across the sorcerer's tower, which is hidden among the trees. The tower is protected by a magical shield, and the players must find a way to disable it in order to enter. The players could discover a hidden entrance to the goblin cave system below the tower, where they could find a magical crystal that powers the shield. In order to disable the shield, the players must navigate through the cave system and face dangers that lurk within, such as cave trolls and giant spiders. Act 3. Once the shield is disabled, the players can leave the cave system and enter the sorcerer's tower. Inside the tower, the players must navigate through its traps and puzzles to reach the sorcerer's chamber. In the chamber, the players confront the sorcerer and learn of their plan to use the stolen magical artifacts to perform a ritual that will grant them immense power. The sorcerer summons their goblin army to attack the players, and the players must defeat the sorcerer and their minions in order to stop the ritual and save the kingdom. The players can explore the tower and the surrounding area, where they might find valuable treasure and additional clues about the sorcerer's plans. If the players are successful, they will save the kingdom and be hailed as heroes. I mean, we've gotten back to saving the kingdom and hailed as heroes. It's fine. I don't really mind that. Interestingly, Act 4 isn't even really necessary. I mean, I asked it to add another act because I thought it was struggling to include all of the details in the relevant acts. But this is fine, actually. this is fine. I mean, I suppose Act 2 is journeying into the forest and exploring the cave system, but that's fine. I mean, the journey into the forest and finding the tower is introduction to that act, and the cave system itself is probably just going to be a few chambers that lead to the magical orb or whatever it is. Okay, good. This is great. I'm just going to copy this all out now and take it here so that I've got a record of it in case I need to come back to specifically this, and we're going to start fleshing out specific details. So the first thing I would want in something like this is I want to have just a little bit to read out to the players as an introduction to the adventure. So let's see what GPT does. So I'm just going to say, write a passage to read out to the players as an introduction at the start of the adventure. So adventures have little blocks that you read out to players from time to time. I want the AI to generate all of these blocks, and this is the first one, and this will be probably what I read out at the start of this video, what I read out at the start of this video from your perspective. Sure, here is a passage that you could read to the players at the start of the adventure. Welcome, brave adventurers, to the kingdom of Willowdale. The land is in grave danger, and we need your help. Willowdale is a small, peaceful village nestled among the trees at the base of a mountain range. We are a simple people living off the land and tending to our crops and livestock, but recently our way of life has been threatened by a band of goblins. The goblins have been raiding our village, stealing our food and supplies, and causing destruction wherever they go. We do not know why they have turned against us, but we fear they are being controlled by a dark sorcerer who is using them to gather magical artifacts for a sinister purpose. We beg of you, please help us protect our village and put an end to the goblins' aggression. Will you accept this quest and journey to the sorcerer's tower to stop the evil that lurks within? It's pretty good. It's very descriptive. I mean, it basically lays out the whole adventure, which is essentially what we asked the AI to do. I'm going to change this. This is a great introduction, but I'm going to say, try again, but narrate the player's arrival into the village instead of giving the quest description. I don't know if it's going to. That might be. I mean, I really do push this thing in terms of the way I talk to it. End with a village elder approaching players and saying, "At last, adventurers, our prayers have been answered." There we go. So I just, I want a nice classic. I'm not going to give away all the details of the quest straight away. I want the players to discover that through actually the process of going through Act 1. So instead, we're just going to set it up. We're going to tee up the adventure, and hopefully the AI will understand that's what I want. Will it? All I've done is ask it, like I was asking a person, to rewrite it. Let's see if this AI understands. As you and your companions journey through the forest, you come across a small village nestled among the trees. The village is surrounded by fields of wheat and corn, and you can see smoke rising from the chimneys of the wooden houses. You make your way into the village, and the locals come out to greet you. They are a simple people, dressed in rough-spun clothes and carrying tools and weapons. They look at you with a mixture of fear and hope in their eyes. As you approach the village square, you see an old man standing on a wooden platform. He is the village elder. He looks upon you with gratitude. "At last, heroes have come," he says. "Our prayers have been answered. Please come with me, and I will tell you of the danger that threatens our village." Wow. I mean, I think that is amazing. I think it's genuinely mind-blowing that that is generated by an AI and generated as a result of a conversation with an AI as well. Right, Future Dave here in the edit. We're coming up on the 25-minute mark, which is already pretty long for a YouTube video, so I'm going to have to cut it here, and we will return for a part 2 video in which I will flesh out all of the details, build the specific encounters, generate the battle maps using Stable Diffusion, and generally complete this and turn it into a fully playable adventure module. Obviously, this is a brand new YouTube channel. It's been going for basically a couple of weeks and it is tiny, so the only way it's going to grow is if people let the algorithm know that it is of interest. So please, like button, subscribe, all of that YouTube stuff, especially important for a small channel which is just getting started. But with that said, thanks a lot everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this dive into the mind of an AI as it generated, with a little bit of help from me, a pretty fantastic beginning of an adventure for D&D. Until next time, I have been Dave, the AI Wizard, and I'll see you later.